Recording in progress.
Yeah, it looks good if y'all there also, because like I got more people to to help out, really. No pressure, but yeah, next time around, if y'all want to, y'all could, like, if y'all feel comfortable, I'm gonna try to set up some type of like teacher assistant type of thing or whatever, and then y'all can even like put it on your resume, like, okay, I worked at Black IO as a you could say a lead, like you can make up
Nice.
like, I'll vouch for whatever. It was a lead, you know, get a jump start or whatever. Because yeah, you get that first job. The first job is always the hardest. The second job is easier, and it just keeps getting easier and easier as you get more and more experience. So, but yeah, next class starts June. Mid-May is orientation. For y'all, it's going to be optional whether or not y'all want to come to orientation. I'm not going to do a thing again where like we vote. I'm just going to pick days because my work schedule changes up. So yeah, I just got to pick the days that I'm available at that time. But it'll still be 2 times a week. Likely the same time. I may change up Sunday a little. It may be a little bit too early, but we'll figure it out as we do it. But yeah, like I said, if y'all know anybody, like, let them know. Well, Black people specifically, because this is not for this is to increase the Black representation. Like so yeah. Also, one thing I wanted before y'all start, one thing I wanted to talk about while we're recording is whenever you're on the interview, like there's something called whiteboard problems. Like it's a very common thing in development. Basically, when you go to the interview, they give you a problem to do and they ask you to write it on a whiteboard or a chalkboard or whatever. Like you're not writing physically in the computer. You're writing like as if you're writing on a piece of paper. Now, they're not expecting you to not make mistakes, but if you don't know how to do, if you don't know how to write constants, don't know how to write if statements, arrow functions, like booleans, like all of those, like JavaScript section, the whole JavaScript section, then like 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, they just not going to hire you, like, because those are the things that need to be committed to memory. Those are like the fundamentals or whatever. Like everything else, like how to work with like different how to work with like the date object, or how to mess around with like math.random and stuff like that. Like that type of stuff is not it's not necessarily like had to be committed to memory, but you had to have some kind of knowledge of it or whatever. So with that being said, like it's probably better if everyone can practice. Like if you're really, really serious about getting a job like as soon as possible, I recommend practicing every day. Like literally, I code literally every day. And when I first started, I was coding every day. And I would do probably like an hour a day. And even if it's not like physical like coding, it's like looking at something that's related to coding. The only reason I say practice every day is because coding is one of those things where like you will just forget it if you don't practice it. Like I can't tell you how many programming languages I tried to learn and I didn't practice, and like I forgot it. I tried to learn Java, I pretty much forgot it. I just recently started learning Python and I forgot like the basics because I'm not practicing it. What else did I learn? There was a few other ones I tried to learn.
C++.
I did C plus. Yeah, I did C++ in college, and like I don't know how to write it. I would say that a lot of programming languages are very similar. Like the way you write the stuff, like the syntax, the actual like what you're writing on your keyboard is very similar, but like you have to know like how to write it if you're going to interview for a position in it. One of my friends, and I think I told this story, like one of my friends, he learned a whole bunch of programming languages at the same time, and it only messed him up because now when he go to interview for a job, he get one programming language mixed up with another programming language, and it just don't look good. It's like it's unnecessary. Like he learned so many to like try to get ahead, not knowing that this is really what's holding him back. And like to this day, he still don't have a developer job, because he never focused in on one or whatever. So yeah, definitely recommend practicing every day. If not an hour, I would at least do 30 minutes, like a day. So yeah, at least until it's committed to memory. So, or until you get that job. So
No, that's a good point, because I was actually looking up the interview process. And yeah, I didn't know they'll actually have you code like on the spot, like actually like debug something or whatever, like on the spot, and even will time you. And I was like, oh, okay, that changes a lot. Yo, for that particular one I was watching, yeah, she had 20 minutes to do a small code. It wasn't a lot.
They'll watch you, like they'll like put pressure on you. And it's messed up, but it is what it is.
They pay a lot of money though, so they want to make sure you can actually do what you say you can do. So I get it, but
yeah, make sure you're confident. Make sure it comes naturally to you. You don't want to be sitting there thinking to yourself, "Should I use const or let?" And it's like that should be instant. You don't want to be sitting there thinking, "Oh, how do I write an arrow function again?" Like that's not, that should be second nature. Like you should, write an arrow function. Okay, cool. Done. You don't want to be sitting, with the using fetch and like APIs and stuff like that type of stuff, they'll normally give you like some leeway with it, like how to write, like how to put like the syntax together, like the parameters. Like in fetch you put like the method, the headers or whatever, and like stuff like that. Like that's like detailed stuff. And in the interview, like they normally give you like really relatively easier questions than what you're going to see on the job, but the questions they give you, they expect you to know how to do it right away. So that's something to keep in mind. Let me look at the chat. It's all good to you. It's not, yeah, but yeah, that's my rant for today. So we'll start with the complete code. y'all can just dissect it together. Yeah, and who wants to share their screen? I know it's always a thing, but it's starting from the complete code this time. So I just got to go through all the functions and just go through all of the flow. So. I'm going silent now. Y'all figure it out.
Oh my God. Come on, y'all. I don't have my laptop.
I'll share. Give me a second to download the code.
Okay.
Yeah, and if y'all go like too far off track, I'll make sure y'all get back on track. I'm not gonna let y'all go down a rabbit hole or whatever. So yeah. Yeah, so while you download that, like for the next class, so far I have like 10 signups or something like that, or 11 signups. I'm really trying to get as many as possible because I see we went from 20 something to like less than 10, like I would say like 5 or 6, something like that. So if we can get more people in, it's even better. Because naturally a lot of people just gonna drop the class. It's either gonna be too much or life gonna get in the way. So yeah. But yeah, spread the word for sure. So.
Yeah, I referred a couple people for this time, but it kind of evaporated.
Yeah. The coding is one of those things where it's like a lot of people, like for y'all to get to where y'all at now, like people don't really get that far, get this far in the class. or in any coding class, to be honest. Sometimes I would say more than half always drop. But that's all it's a normal thing. So for y'all to be still here is actually says like a lot about the level of dedication. So yeah.
I think you said you was teaching React in June too, right?
In May.
In
So,
May.
But then maybe we're doing React. Like, and once we get to React, like y'all not gonna want to go back to regular JavaScript because React is like
Oh, what is Python?
Python. So yeah, Python is like a back-end programming language. It's bit, you know how we make those API calls, like those get requests, post requests, delete, put, like the whole Crud thing is based off of API calls. Well, what the backend does is the backend is what's receiving your like messages. Like you do a get request and it goes to the backend. So you write the code to say, okay, when they do a get request to this URL, I want it to do this thing. And a lot of times the thing that it's doing is reaching into a database and then pulling out information and then giving it back to the front end, which is what y'all doing. Technically, it's the front end, what you see on the screen, basically. So yeah, Python is one of those back end languages, and it's used really heavy for like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and what's the word? And shoot, I forgot the name of it. But all of it's under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. It can calculate, it can do math really good.
Really? So all those movies they make about AI, is that like true?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so, to be honest. If they made a movie about it, definitely I would assume somebody made something that's very similar to like what's yeah.
I apologize. I have my Illustrator open and it's like taking forever for me to even like bring up this screen, bro. I apologize.
Yeah, it's all good. I know those things a lot of research.
I have another question, Isaiah. Even though you're starting a new class, could I still come?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I actually recommend y'all come, honestly. I want y'all. Yeah. Oh, the other thing is called deep learning. I was just looking something up. But yeah, it's artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. And deep learning is like the stuff you see on like the movies. Like when somebody make something in deep learning, basically the computer learns on its own. Like basically they like, for example, like they've trained like computers to learn how to play like video games or whatever, and they'll just like keep training and training and training until they get good enough to beat people. And
they literally, are you serious? That's literally the whole plot of the movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Which movie is that?
I forgot. I literally just watched this movie where he plays an AI in the AI realm, like in what you just said. It learns how to do new things.
Yeah.
So that's like a real thing.
Yeah. And it's even people out there like trying to convince the government not to like let it loose or whatever, because they're afraid that it's gonna like take over. Like it's a very real thing. Computers can do some really good stuff I mean, it can turn out to be bad. It really can, because once you start getting into that, like the computer learning zone, make its own conclusions, and then like it just really depends on how much access you give it. Give it access to the internet, and like it can potentially like mess everything up. So yes, definitely a real thing. So
robot.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It says you're sharing the screen, Duran, but it's like not showing for some reason.
My is like frozen up right now, bro.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me undo it.
Oh wait, not you said it made. Wait, are you like? You made about 40,000 bioweapons in 6 hours?
Huh?
Nair had typed something in the the chat. Said the AI made 40,000 bioweapons in 6 hours. But yeah, it can do stuff like that. Like it can like computers, like you give access to the internet, it has access to all information, and it can do things a lot better than humans can. There's a reason why we use technology to work. Like it makes us a lot more productive, and it gives us like an extra it takes out for our lack of basically our lack of of what we can do. Like machines do the fill in the gap basically.
Yeah, can you imagine having a virtual assistant like it's a robot? Like that would just be amazing. My business would be crazy. Right? Okay.
Google has that already, virtual assistants, and they even have you know how like they have robots calling you or whatever. Like they developed the robot that sounds just like a human, like not like a recorded human, like an actual human. It'll say like state words, it'll like respond based off of what you're saying, and it'll get like the context of what you're saying. So if you say a joke, it'll recognize a joke. And all this comes with like machine learning, deep learning, and like artificial intelligence.
Mm.
You have assistants that can call, basically, and schedule appointments for you. Yeah.
Can anybody join the course for May to learn React? I just have a friend that's asking.
Your friend
She
already know how to code.
Yes, she already know how to code. She's learning React right now. She said through her job.
Yeah, she can.
Yeah.
Yeah, give her like tell her DM me and I'll add her to the group.
All right, texting her.
So like, do we re-sign up for the course to come back into like the?
Yeah, so I'm gonna with all the people that are registered now, probably like later on in the week, I'm gonna send like a group message. And that group message is basically just gonna be like what we had did in the beginning of this class. We're just gonna be everybody that applied, and then whoever actually come to orientation is gonna be the ones that's actually gonna get in. With y'all orientation, it'll be optional, but everybody else, I just want to tell them like what the class is about. So yeah, if you already signed up, you sign up through the that link I had put in the chat. There's like a Google Forms link. They ask for your name and your Instagram name. As long as you signed up in that, you're fine. And I'll send everybody a message like probably the end of the week, honestly. Just trying to get more people in there right now.
Hey, my bad, y'all. My computer is still clocking over here, man.
It's all good. Who was that that left the Instagram? It says taking a mental, they don't even say their name. It says, hey guys, taking a mental health day and break from IG. Do anybody know who that was?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
It was Lana.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, when I click on the picture, it says like the profile was not there or whatever. But okay.
That's like a real thing too, because there's a lot of distractions on the world. So yeah, sometimes you do need to just step back.
Am I back? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what the crap happened on our computer.
The same thing that happened in my shit right now.
Did everybody crash or was it just me?
No, I think
Yeah, I was feeling like I was a part of a group. I'm going to sit in the back. So where did we leave off? Was somebody?
yeah. So Duran, he has like a said Visual Basic up or something like that. That's slowing down his computer, so he trying to get it to come back up.
He trying to get it to not be so basic.
What?
Nah, the issue is I was working on a Illustrator project last night for some rat cards and stuff like that, and that's still up, but I can't. For some reason, my Chrome is not loading, so I can't go to download this. I have the starter file, but I don't have the complete code. In order to go over the complete code like we're trying to do, I can't do that right now, and it's giving me page. Go
I
ahead.
can share my screen, and then I can have y'all. Like, I can just.
That's better. That's better.
Y'all can let me pull it up. So I don't have it downloaded yet.
Crud store like Fatalis. I got to get this dang on Crud store. Make sure I code that thing from start to finish.
Yeah, that's a real good one. That's gonna look good on a resume.
That mug complex than a mug, boy.
There's lots of stuff going on. But honestly, like the actually I do have it up. So where is it? Yeah. Let me share my screen. Honestly, like the only thing that's important really is like just knowing
API calls.
yeah, and knowing how to hook it up, basically knowing how to actually get it working your code. Pull this up here.
Still, yeah.
Oop. That's that oop code. So it's that alley-oop.
Oh, right. Yeah. Did you see the yeah. That's that project that's all the way at the bottom, the newer one. I gotta find some time to like record that and like actually get that in this one all the way at the bottom.
Oh shoot, you said
But yeah, the Crud store here. All right, so I'm opening up the code. There's a store.js. Okay. I guess y'all can direct me what to do first, what to do next. I'm opening up the dev tools also. So got that open.
And didn't we already start with the grabbing the ID from the Crud store?
Right. So we left off here. Like we did this, the load store, and we started the load store was hooked up. And I think so now we gotta so we did load store and we went through this fetch here. And I think we left off trying to figure out how to do all of this stuff here. It's really up to y'all. Do y'all want to start from like load store? Or you want to start from here? Okay.
I say we should skip to the next part because the next part is the part that's gonna take this to be putting the items on the screen and stuff like that.
Right. So yeah, that's all of this here. Do y'all wanna so we'll go through it line by line. Y'all can just if somebody wanna just explain what they think each line is doing, or let me know if I should go up and down in the code and stuff like that.
Number of products on the shelf is basically the number of items. Isn't that checking to make sure that the number of items doesn't go over 4? So then that would display the shelf is full thing.
Right, exactly.
Yo, question. So where's the variable items defined?
This here, items.
Yeah, see, so you can define that, boy. Fetch.
Yeah,
It's
it's something
different.
I didn't go through what this actually is. So basically, you see how you see how we pass in this parameter, like that parameter was a function.
Right.
That was a function.
Right.
It's somebody to go over it first. It's called a callback function.
You sound kind of muffled.
It's called a callback function. Can you hear me now?
Yep, you good.
Yeah. So it's called a callback function. I'm gonna quickly show you how that works. Like it's a good question. Where did this even come from? And you can create functions that do stuff like that. Let me just create something quick. So let's see a. It's going to take a function as a parameter, and then it's going to say you can take a number. Let's call this multiply by 2. And say num answer equals num times 2. And then we're gonna do this. We're gonna call the function that we passed in. It's something that we never saw before. A callback function. So when I run this function, right, I'm gonna throw in an arrow function, and I'll say answer, and then I'll say console log answer. I'm gonna put a debug in here too.
What?
Yeah, it's different. It's like this is different. We got to pass in 2 parameters. We pass in a function, and we actually let's just pass in a function by itself just to keep it simple. Let's just put the number 2 in here.
No, I kind of want to take it there low key.
Okay, all right. we can give it another. So we gotta so let's say the number 3. The number 3 is the first parameter, that's num, and function, this is the function here, that's the second parameter, right? So we're gonna multiply that by 3. Let me put a debugger here. There's something I should definitely go over in the course. I should put something in there on this.
Please and thank you.
Yeah. All right, so move this thing out the way. All right, so I'm gonna do this. So this is the actual function. It's not doing anything. But now we're gonna call the function. So I'm gonna press this button. And what we did was we passed in the number 3, and we passed in a function. So this is that function that we just passed in. Console log. So it literally showed that whole thing. And I'm gonna put a debugger here too. So answer is 6, because 6 times 3 is 6. I mean 6 times 3 times 2 is 6. And then we're gonna call the function that we passed in. And when we do that, we go into here and it's 6 is answer. See, and we console log answer. It's a pattern that we never saw before, but literally fetch is doing the exact same thing. You passed in a function as a parameter, and then it's going to call the function with something inside of it and give it back to you. So that's basically what items is. Items is whatever fetch gives you back whenever it does it. Yeah, a pattern that we never saw before, but it's helpful to just know about it. So
yeah.
That's
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But I don't know what question to ask.
I was gonna ask, what's the advantages of doing it like that?
So
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard question because I don't ever do this at work. Like I don't use callback functions at work. The only time I use callback functions is in this context, like as if I'm doing like fetch, and I know fetch gives me, I know I'm passing in a function into fetch, but I'm not about to create a function that takes a function so that I can call it later on. Like I never saw a use case with this.
Yeah, it seems almost like a promise or something like that to some degree.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, like it can look like a promise. Like you can do a set timeout and like you can say, okay, I'm just gonna call the function after 5 seconds. And it kind of looks like a promise. And you can make your own promises also, but like
Man, I promise.
I think you have to, I forget the syntax for promises, but yeah, this will work the same except for it'll call it after 5 seconds. So yeah, all of these things we see here, like it's stuff that you can create on your own. Like all of this stuff, this is stuff that other people made using like callbacks and like just knowing how to mess with JavaScript. So yeah.
I'm trying to get to that level low key.
Yeah. Once you start like
That's what I want to be when I grow up, right there.
yeah, the person making the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good. I mean, I can't say that they get paid to do it because it's all free. Like fetches.
Yeah.
I put the
That's
work.
cool.
We
So
are
is that really all the next version of programs are? Is the common code that's been come up with now, and they just add it to the next version of whatever the JavaScript 6 is, or you know what I'm saying?
yep.
That's
Yep.
that's pretty much it, huh? Yeah.
Just building blocks. Everybody just taking a piece and just making it better. Just building on top of it more and more. So
I would love to be one of those people. That would be cool. That would be stupid cool.
Yeah, get element by ID. Yeah, that's me, dog. I did
Yeah, you
that,
know what I'm
dog.
saying?
That's
Yeah.
me, fam. Like, yeah.
yeah. I mean, nobody will know who you is. It's like, oh, really? I mean, because it's not written, so I don't. At least I don't know like who made it. Like,
Nah, I did, dog. I did. You know what I mean? Like, I came up with that. You know?
Right.
In between.
So
Like the
yeah, we're
underwear,
here
not
on
quite the
156.
outerwear, but it's this piece
I guess
of
I'll
like
go to
clothing.
the function, and then like we'll see. Y'all can like explain what it's doing. So just a quick, we passed in items into the function. Let me actually put a debugger. I'm put a debugger here. And then we're gonna go through it in a debugger, and then y'all can just explain it through there. So y'all want to remember like what we passed in and stuff like that. So
why would you put a debugger there?
I put it here because we left off because this where we left off last time. Actually, let me take it out here actually, and I'm going to put it directly into the console. So I need to get out of the habit of putting debugger.
You can put a debugger strictly from there.
Yeah, you just click the line you want to stop at. Yep. So I'm gonna and it'll stop right there. This is debugger. So it's the equivalent. What is it? Here. So load store. Oh, I gotta get another I have to get another
API key.
Yeah.
Yeah, close this all down. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me. I'm just gonna make this expand this a little. All right. So we got items, and let me. So next line. This is 0. Now we're gonna go into here, and I guess y'all can start to explain like what y'all think is going on here. And I can go from screen to screen if you want me to go to the HTML or whatever to see what's what.
Looks like you're setting price items to an empty string.
Yeah. So I'm gonna see what price items is. That is this.
No items on shelf.
So basically, HTML is just setting. It's basically getting rid of all of this stuff here. And this don't really come into play until like we actually have stuff. We actually have like stuff in here. Because right now there's nothing in here. So we'll come back to this one once we actually add something. Because it's not going to do anything, because there's nothing it's nothing to loop through. It's an empty array. So all right, so this hide item by ID. We're going to that. So what do y'all think is happening here?
You're removing the class of display none from set price container.
Right. And okay. Yeah. So that moves that. So we got it by ID, class list, we remove display none. Cool. Same deal here. So do the exact same thing. So price, let me just go to price container so we can see what that is. Price container is this. It has this don't even come into play yet. This is just setting up stuff. But yeah, it has this add thing where we can set the price of an item. Actually, let me add some stuff. Let me add some stuff in here because we won't really see what any of this stuff is doing unless we add stuff. Okay. All right. So that's that, and I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to try to add another thing, and we're going to go through this again. Okay. So now items. Now we have two things.
I'm gonna interrupt,
Yeah.
but am I that behind that I did not know you can do this? And are the changes saved?
For
Or no? What the way you're doing?
like right now. Yeah. So I showed it a few times in class. You probably didn't notice that I was putting these debuggers in here, but I showed it a few times in class. And no, it doesn't save none of it. If I make changes here, it don't save, but I'm not actually making changes. I can write it here, but it's not gonna save. Not unless I tell it to save. You can set that up for it to save if you wanted to.
How to set that up? How do you set it up to save?
You gotta go into the settings and like you gotta
okay. All right, it's a long drawn out process.
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah. Like you see our console log here, like it's not gonna run this because this code was never there. Like if I go like to the next line, like see it just removed it because it was never there. So nothing saves.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, now we got two items in here, and now we can start actually going through trying to figure out like what's going on. So, all right, let me go into here, populate items. So, price. It's already 750. I'm just gonna go through it. I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna give y'all a break. So I'm gonna go and look for price items. It's here, right? Right now inside of here, we have the one thing, these chips with like, if I open this up more, we have chips for this div, we have an update button and we have a delete button. So basically we're taking priced items and we're setting the inner HTML to nothing. So it's gonna delete everything here as soon as we go past that line. Let me go back to the JavaScript. So if I go to the next line, see now it's gone. There's nothing here. And if I go to the HTML, like there's nothing inside here. We can't open this up. Priced items. So now we stop. The reason we removed it is because we want to start with a clean slate before we start adding everything on the shelf. It's like we're doing like a refresh. Like I just pressed add, and it's going to empty the shelf, and then it's going to repopulate it with everything that's there. And everything that's there is here. Like we have 2 items in here. We have a sandwich that we added, and we have chips. So I'm gonna go through this. We're gonna loop through that array. So we're on chips right now. So get parent element. Let's go into that and see what that does. So get parent element, we're basically creating a div. And then we're going to add some classes to it. Quarter width and this we're adding this here also, flex column. If we go to quarter width, like since we're adding this class, what we always want to do is try to figure out what is that class actually doing. So I'm going to go to the CSS. CSS is here.
It's chopping is basically making 4 quarter width boxes.
Right. Exactly. You're giving it a height of 100%. Anytime you give something a height 100%, it gives it like the height of like the parent or whatever, whatever it's inside of, and we're giving it a width of 25%. Just like we said, we want to put it into a quarter. And flex column, all that does is it gives it like these CSS classes. It's basically aligning everything. It's making sure everything is lined up. You know how we had the chips, the update button and the delete button. This is going to line all of those things up whenever we put it inside of the div. We're just building that HTML basically. You're going to see it. You're going to see it being built as we go through it. But this is the parent, like that top div that's going to contain the chips, the update button, and the delete button. We'll go to the next line. So we're going to return that. We created a div and then we gave it 2 classes, this and this one. We return it. And that puts inside of this variable. That's the div. And even if we go to class list, we can see that that it has those 2 classes, quarter width and flex column. I'm not sure if I showed you that this is here, but yeah, you can see the classes here inside of class list. So get product element, and we're passing it the data. We're passing it the cost, the image, and the ID. Let's see what get product element does. We'll go inside of that. And it does a lot of stuff here. First, it creates a div. So document.create element, it's going to create that div. And then it's going to give this div display flex and a full size class. The flex class, all that does is give it these classes here. Like it gives it, it makes it a flex box, and it basically aligns things to be in the center. And full size is another class in here that gives it a height and width of 100%. Now, I want to say like I didn't write the JavaScript code before I started putting it on the screen. Like basically, I wrote the HTML and the CSS to make sure it looks right on the screen, and then I created it in JavaScript so that JavaScript can like make it for me, whatever. I can't visually see what's going on unless I see it on the screen first. So that's how I like went about putting all this stuff together.
So
is that why you did the PDFs first?
Yeah, the PDFs, right? So you can see it. And also like I had made sure let me hit play real quick. We're gonna come back to the spot. I literally put the HTML and CSS on the screen for this. And then I'm like, okay, like that's the HTML and CSS. Let me create this in JavaScript. Like I know that I had to. Let me open this up. Right. So let me close this. So we got 2 things here, right? This is the chips and this one is the sandwich. So I know I had to have a div up top that's why I had created that div inside of create parent div, and I gave it the quarter worth and the flex column. And inside of that, we have another div that has like the picture. We have the update button, and we got the delete button, and all of these go inside of this parent div here. And I know that this top div that I had created, inside of that goes a span, which says the price, and it also has another div that has a background image of whatever you just bought, like the chips and stuff. So I literally created this whole thing in the HTML, and I put all the styling and stuff like that so that everything fits into place. And then I transfer all of this stuff into JavaScript, so JavaScript can build it for me every time I need one of these things built. So let me I'm gonna add another sandwich. I'm gonna add like for $3, and we're gonna see everything being built. And let me actually take I'm gonna take like a screenshot of this so that we can see everything happening. 2 minutes. Press add. Let me bring the screenshot up as soon as it drops. Okay. Full size. Okay. Put this over here. Okay. All right. So move this out of the way. So I'm gonna go back inside of populate shelf, right? Inside of populate shelf, we set the inner HTML to be empty. So all of this stuff, all of these things is going to be deleted. Basically, these things with this quarter width class, all of in this one here is going to be deleted from the HTML because I want to clear it out. Like I want to start from scratch. So I cleared everything out, and you can see everything on the shelf is gone. Now I'm gonna go inside of here, and I'm gonna start building up this stuff again. So get parent element. I'm gonna go in there, and we just literally we created a div, and we gave it a class, and we gave it 2 classes, quarter width and display flex. That represents this first one here, this parent here. That's the very outer div. So just keep a note, like that's where we at right now. And after I created that, I put that inside of this here. Now I'm going to create another div, and let me go inside of there. Let's get product element. We're passing all the data or whatever. So I'm going to go inside of that, and this is going to create another div here, and we'll see how all this stuff fit into place. And we're going to give that div a class of flex and full size. I'm gonna go back here, and we can see that that is this div here. We're starting to build up this one because we can see that it has a class of flex and full size. So that is that. Now we're gonna create another HTML element, a span. You probably know where I'm going with this. A span. So we're gonna add a class of red text and price text, and we're gonna give it an inner HTML. We're gonna put some HTML inside of there. And we passed in data. Data had everything. It had the cost in there. So we're going to pass in data.cost. And we're going to use parse float to turn it into an actual number. And we're going to use so we use parse float to turn it into a number, and we use 2 fixed so we can fix it to 2 decimal places, because that's how like money is. It's always 2 decimal places. So the inner text of this, if I hover over this, it says $2, and I have the extra $sign here in front of it too. You can see how I'm using these brackets to like structure all of this stuff, and I'm chaining all of these things so that I can do all this stuff on one line. But yeah, this is that span that is here. That's this one here. You can see we gave it a class of red text and price text, and we gave it an inner text of $2. So now we're going to create another element. We're going to create another div, create element. So After we create that div, we're going to give it a class of shelf product. We're going to give it a background image of the image that came in the data here, this image here. So we're going to give it a background image. Where background image uses this URL syntax for CSS. So we give it that. And that is this one here. This one. We created a div, we gave it a class of shelf product, and we gave it a background image. Anytime you give stuff background images, it goes inside of the HTML tag as like the style tag. We went over this slightly when Jerome was here. He kind of like talked about it a little, but you can write your CSS directly inside of HTML like this. It just drops right in there. It's not good practice, which is why I didn't teach it, but that's basically what happens here. So yeah, I gave it this class and gave it, go ahead, somebody had a.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that dot backslash assets backslash chips.png. The dot, what does that represent?
Good question. So this dot represents like the place you're currently at, like the folder relative to the folder you're currently at. That is what the dot does for us. If we didn't have this dot here, it's going to look from like the beginning of your computer, like the very first file, user, and then slash your name slash whatever. That's something called like an absolute path. But this dot means wherever this HTML file is, we're going to start inside of the HTML file that we're currently in, and then we're going to start to search for an asset folder, and we're going to look for chips.png. So it's like a relative thing, and dot makes it relative to wherever you're currently at. So if we would HTML file, this whole thing would break. It couldn't find these pictures because if you move it, it won't be in the location that it's looking. So yeah.
Then my next question is, what's why do you, and you probably answered this already, but why do you keep deleting everything and then putting it back in?
Yeah. The reason I do that is because like if I didn't do that, I gotta put extra logic inside of there. Like every time I add something to the database, I gotta first confirm that it's actually there. The only way for me to confirm that it's actually there is to make a GET request to get everything back. And let's say I didn't delete anything. I only added what I needed to add. Now I gotta check the IDs from the stuff that's already in the database to make sure I already don't have that item on the screen. Not only do I gotta check the ID, I also gotta check the price, because remember we can update also. So I gotta check the ID and I gotta check the price to make sure that item wasn't updated, to make sure we don't have to replace it on the screen. So me just deleting everything avoids all of that extra complexity of checking and stuff like that. Just want to start every time. Good questions. So yeah, we just created this div here, and now we're going to start using append child. So remember, product div is here. This is the one we just created here. It was just that parent div, basically, the one that had flex and full size. That's this one here. Now, since we have this, we got to start adding span and div inside of it. The way you add an HTML element inside of another HTML element is with append child. So first we're going to append price, because price was this here. We're going to add that. We got to do this in order. We're going to add that first, the span, and that's what price is. That's this here. And then we got to add the product after that. And product is this one here, where we show the background image. So we do append price, and then we do append product. And now this is a div that contains a span and another div, and it's structured exactly how we wanted to structure it. Now let me go to the next line. So that this one function put all of that stuff inside of this variable because we set it equal to it. Now we want to create the update button. So I'm going inside of that. We passed it the information here. So we know the update button was a div. So I'm going to create a div. I'm just going to name it update. I have to give it a class of btn. I have to give it inner text of update. And I have to give it an on click. It has to do something. So I can just straight do the button dot on click, and I can set it equal to a function. Whenever you update, it's going to call the function that's currently in this file that is here. It's going to call this function. It's going to pass it product. And we're gonna go through this like the next class, but just know that I'm setting this on click to the function that's already there, and I'm going to pass it the data that we passed it. So we passed the chips and we passed it the cost or whatever. So that is this update button right here. You can see it has a class of btn, it has a text of update, and we're going to give it an on click also. I don't know why the on click is not shown here, but it's going to have an on click. And we're going to do the same with the delete button. It says get delete button, and we're going to pass it the data. We're going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going inside of it just so we can see it. We create the div here, create element. We created a div. We're going to add a class of btn. We're going to add the text of delete, and we're going to give it some on click, and it's going to call some delete function inside of this this file, and it's going to pass it the ID of the product because we got the ID there. And after it creates that div, it's going to pass it back to this variable. So now, just to recap, we created the outer div, that is this one here. We created that one first. Then we created this whole thing. Then we created the update button. Then we created the delete button. Now, what we got to do, since we created all four of these things, we have to put all of this stuff inside of this. All that stuff is still not inside of there yet. So that's what we're doing here. This is that outer div. So first we got to add the product div. That is this here. Then we got to add the update button, and then we add the delete button. So we do that in order. Product div, we got to add it there. We got to add the update button. Then we got to add the delete button. So we've created this HTML element, but it's still not on the page. It's all of that stuff is just inside of this one variable. If I go through this, you can see like all of the children or whatever. If I go to children, I can see that we have that div, we got the update button here, and we got the delete button right here. So we successfully created that element. Now we got to add this to the page. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab price element. That's this part here. Grab it by ID, and I'm gonna append a child. I'm gonna add inside of that the div that we just created. This parent one here, the one we just added all that stuff inside of. And after we do that, it adds to the screen. We can see that the image is still not there. The image is going to take some time to load. That's why it's not there, but we just added all that stuff to the screen. And we're doing all of that inside of this for loop. So with that being said, we know that we're going to do the exact same steps with the sandwich. We'll add the sandwich. I'm not even going to go through, I'm just going to pass through all these lines. Just going to pass by so we can see all the stuff being added to the screen. Now it's going to add. And we're going to do the same thing for, I think, the other chips that I added. Oh, it's another sandwich for $3. Update button, delete button. It's going to add all those things to that div, and it's going to add that div to price items. If I play, those images load, and we get everything on the shelf. So that is what Populate Shelf does. I'm gonna leave it here, and we'll continue in the next on Sunday. We'll continue going through on Sunday. So where we left off at, just so everybody know, this is where we left off at. Populate shelf. We just got to do all of these here, and we got to go through what the update button does and what the delete button does. Any questions?
Will I ever get to a point where I can understand this? Because right now, this seems like Chinese, and
Yeah.
I don't speak a lick of it.
So what we're doing here in React is a lot easier. So I'm showing you like the hard way of doing this. Like we literally had to create each individual HTML element in order to put it on the screen. Where's it? Yeah, we went through this whole step of creating each individual thing just to build it up, adding all of these delete and these update, just to build it up to put it on the screen. Like we're not gonna be doing that with React. Like React is a much simpler way to do it.
But so would it be, is it important to know how to do it that way? Or is it okay if you don't necessarily know how to do it that way, but you can do it in React?
So it is important to just know the concepts of how to do it conceptually. What I would say is the best way to go about it is to learn it for the moment, and when you see it again, you would know how to do it. And in React, you have to know how to do it. Like, like if someone asks you to do this, like this is what we do all the time in React. Like it's a very common thing. Like we always build HTML. We don't when we get to React, we're not writing HTML no more. Like we writing it, but we writing it with JavaScript. So we don't have a separate HTML file anymore. JavaScript is what's going to build all the HTML for us, and you're going to see how easy it is to just use JavaScript to do it for us.
Wow.
HTML one tag, and so technically.
Is React like a template or something?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's like a template. Like you make a whole bunch of templates and put them on the screen where React.
Yeah. So instead of individually doing that, you just call a JavaScript function to have it do that same thing or something?
Right, exactly. Like literally all of this code, like all of this HTML, you're not gonna see any of this stuff. You might see the split tags, but you're gonna see all of this stuff deleted. Like you're gonna see one tag there. And JavaScript is basically gonna do all of the work for you and drop everything inside of that one HTML element. It's gonna look something like this. And that's it. Like it's gonna have like an ID of app. And JavaScript throws all of that stuff inside of there. Everything get reduced.
So could you take JavaScript and save it as a React? Like how can JavaScript translate to React? Like, well, so like all the code that I did in JavaScript for this store.js, could I take it and put it in React and then use it?
Yeah, you can. And you actually just gave me a good idea. I might actually, when I'm teaching React, I might actually take one of these projects and convert it to React. That's actually a good idea.
Thank you.
You're gonna see how much easier it is. Now, obviously, so with React, it takes some time to understand it conceptually. But once you understand it conceptually, you're gonna be able to like convert apps into React. But I will always know JavaScript though. Like, don't ever like say like I'm never gonna go back to it, because React is overkill for like small apps. You building something small, like it's like using a machine gun for like a pistol, and it's like you don't even need all of that extra stuff. Like React literally has a lot of stuff in it. Like you only want to use it when you're making like medium to like large projects. Like this whole project I just wrote with just HTML and JavaScript. Like this is a good example of what to do in React. But if you're just building one of these things, like you don't want to put that in React, because it's just a lot of code for no reason. Just really don't make sense. You're gonna see how significant it is when we get there. It's a lot of code with React, a lot of pre-written code that other people already wrote. and you just use the rules that they lay out for you to build the structure.
So interesting.
Yeah, man. So 3JS is nothing but React then, kind of in a way, right?
Yes. So 3G, 3D.js, you're saying?
3JS. That like
3JS. Yeah, it's probably just like a JavaScript framework. Yeah, 3JS. I see. Yeah, so that it's just nothing but JavaScript code, and they just give you rules to like how to use it. You gotta do certain things. You gotta write.
but that's pretty much just like a React kind of template though, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of the same thing, right?
Right.
Enable you to add the HTML elements to the screen faster instead of having to sit there and write all them joints out. All you would do is just, oh man, that's crazy.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And like that's what it comes down to. Like when you start to work for companies, like they want you to, it's where it's asking me. I don't want to log in, but it's but yeah, that's how companies operate. Like just build templates. So next time you got to build something that looks very similar, you just take all that code and you just move it to the next thing. It's just so much faster to build stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting it.
So is that why when I go on certain sites, I see a bunch of red warnings and stuff come up because they're using templates and not deleting stuff like they're supposed to?
Well, they probably just got bugs that they fixing, to be honest. Like I don't even know why these even came up. Okay, yeah, because it wasn't able to load my pictures and stuff. Like there's always like bugs. If you see red stuff, that's just bugs that the developers are fixing or have to get to eventually. Because some bugs are more important than others.
Yeah. No.
All right, cool. I will stop the recording.